Hold on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Awesome.
How are you, my dude?
Yeah, man. So you got locked out of your studio.
It was so dumb. We've got so the studio is the Equal Vision Records office in downtown Portland, and I got here, got everything set up and going, and
Yeah.
then there's a bathroom key because you have to go out in the hall to use the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
There's 3 locks on the door, and there's 2 deadbolts and then like a regular knob. No one ever locks the knob. Someone came into the office this week and used the knob. So I walk in, do my thing, unlock the deadbolts, go to the bathroom, leave my keys sitting here on the table because I don't need them in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And dude, I come back, it's like 5 minutes or so until we're supposed to be on. Door doesn't open. I was like, oh my God. So my computer, my all my stuff, and then my car keys, house keys are all in here. So I'm texting you like, dude, because I'm never late. But so I'm texting around, and apparently there's another key somewhere in the building in a crazy weird lock thing for an emergency such as this.
Yeah.
So they text me like,
Oh, that's good.
So I'm in.
Dude, when my wife, when we have like babysitters and stuff,
Yeah.
my wife is paranoid about what you just said. So we'll actually go around the house and unlocking all the door knobs.
Yeah.
She's worried that the babysitter will lock herself out of the house. That's pretty funny.
Dude, have you ever locked your kids in anything?
No, I have not.
Okay, I haven't either.
Oh, good. They're starting to get a little older now. My daughter's 9, so I think she would. I don't know what she would do if I locked her out. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you have your own studio, man? Like, what's the studio? Is it just for podcasts and stuff?
Yeah, well, it's I call it the studio. It's the Equal Vision Records office. So the show's on Equal Vision Records. So during COVID, no one's working in here except for one dude, and he's here, every couple days for a little while.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, dude, what about me using the office for a studio? And they're like, sure, no one's using it. So I just cruise. It's in downtown Portland. It's like 12 minutes from my house, and then my house is too loud. My house is old, 1904. So if I try to record in the basement, any kids walking around upstairs, you hear the whole thing. The whole house creaks, like it's old.
Oh, yeah.
So when we moved in there, I was like, well, shit, this isn't going to make a studio. Like I can't record here. And I record most of them in my car, or I did before this. And now I've been doing most of them here, which has been nice.
Oh, that's cool, man.
But yeah, dude, you got quite a setup in there. I've not seen this angle. I've seen your bar from the YouTube channel, but
yeah, this is I'm in the kitchen actually, but yeah, that's the pool table where and you kind of see the bar back there a little bit, but yeah. So we every time I do interviews, I have like food and everything set up. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
dude. Well, welcome to the show. I mean, we just start when I turn this thing on. I don't actually do an intro or anything, but that's what I love about what you do, is because you put so much into it. Like you've got all this stuff prepared as far as like the look and everything. I'm trying to remember how I discovered your show. It was probably from Brian from Korn.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Possibly. Because back when I did that first interview with him, I would every once in a while look at other interviews just to see. I don't do it anymore, but I did then. And I think that's when I discovered it. I was like, who is this guy? Like, I have no idea who this guy is. And then as time goes on, like I see your show a lot. And then I was like, this guy's pretty good, but who is this guy? Like, who is this? Like, where is this coming from? And I become fascinated now more with people that are, so everyone has a podcast, right? Every comedian has a podcast.
Yeah.
Every big musician that wants to start a podcast will start one, and it'll be huge in no time because they're famous. So I've been really intrigued more and more interested in podcasts from people that aren't from the industry. So I think that's what draws me to your show and to John Beatty's show, Brutally Speaking. And I've been delving down these spots more because it's way more interesting, it seems like. And I love your style.
Oh, thank you. But I actually had John Beatty on the show maybe a couple months ago. So he's a great guy. Yeah. He was talking about you too. Like he's a huge fan of yours, and he actually got me listening to your podcast. So I love the networking. It's really cool.
Yeah, man. I'm stoked. When I reached out to you and you'd already heard the show, I was like, oh, well, great. I felt silly like explaining it on the email, but like, yeah, man.
Do you listen to do you go back and listen to your podcast when you get bored, or do you ever go back and revisit what you've done in the past, or you just kind of let it go?
I just let it go, but I don't delete it. Like John and I were talking about this the other day. I don't delete like old episodes or anything like that. Like even my first episodes, I was telling him, if you go to my show on iTunes, it's like Intro to Peer Pleasure. That's the first thing I ever recorded before I ever recorded an episode. I've not changed that out. I left it the same. Like I'm just kind of like awkward and weird. And so maybe that's what people see for the first time and bail, but it's part of the show. Like it's part of the story.
Right. Me and John had the same discussion about that. And I think, I don't know, do you listen to Me? Talk to Me?
He's been on my show before. I've listened to a couple episodes, but I don't listen to it very often.
Well, the reason I bring him up, he was, we can talk about him later, but I think he mentioned that he took a couple episodes off because he was worried that people searching for him would listen to the first few. And I've only took one episode off, and it was the very first one because it was so bad. But I should bring it back because I know John was saying, you got to let people kind of grow with your show. So yeah, maybe I'll get ballsy and just put it out there, but it's super cringe.
Who was the first episode?
It was, okay. So when I started the show, one of my best friends, Kurt Thomas, he's like kind of in a country group or band, singer-songwriter kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I was originally going to do a podcast, and he's got a few music videos out there. And so he was saying, well, your basement is like perfect. You should just have like cameras and stuff. And he told me I can hook you up with a guy that does his videos. So I used him, Dustin. So I was pretty nervous about the whole thing, by the way. I'm kind of skipping forward. But so anyway, I had his guys come over to my house and we set everything up. And I was so nervous because not for interviewing him because it's my friend. I was nervous because I'm wasting all these people's time. It's like all these people over my house. I'm like, okay, so I've never done this before. Here we go.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's kind of how it started. Is it was going to be I wanted to do a podcast, and but he kept talking to me. He's like, you have the perfect like basement man cave, and so visually it would look really cool. You should do that. So that's how it started.
Man. It's incredible down there. You got the skate decks all over the place. Like and for people listening, and I'll do the intro, of course, with who you are, sure. But Scott Bowling from Good Company with Bowling on YouTube. Also, you put the audio up as a podcast too. But I mean, you do such a variety of people too, and I want to get into that as well. But where do you come from? Where did you grow up? In the South?
Yes, I grew up in Lilburn, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. And then my family moved here to Gainesville, Georgia, back when I was about 14 or 15 because of the Lake Lanier. So I grew up on the lake, basically. But yes, in the South. And music was always my thing, always my thing. I was always tall, and so everybody thought I'd be great at sports. And I did play sports. I played baseball, and my dad coached me and my brother, but music was always my thing, always. Like my brother was a computer guy, and me and him work together now. But anyway, music was always my escape. It was always something I played. I played instruments growing up. It's just always been my thing. I've always gravitated naturally to it. So yeah, I've always lived in Georgia my whole life.
Okay.
And I live in Oakwood now, so it's right next door to Gainesville.
Nice. What did you play growing up? What instruments? You started guitar?
I started bass.
Bass,
and
okay.
I played bass in a couple of bands. I actually have, my dad we would play in clubs. I'm trying to think of the names of the different clubs around Atlanta we played at. We were called Rendiscus because my singer we were trying to figure out names, and he pulled out the dictionary and saw rendezvous, and he said, we should call ourselves Rendiscus. And we were like, dude, that says rendezvous. Well, let's go with Rendiscus, whatever. And then I switched from bass to drums. I still play bass a little bit, but I've played drums, man, for like 20 years. I play a lot at church. I used to before COVID, and I do a lot of percussion, which luckily on the show, I've had people on the show playing percussion. I mean, playing percussion, playing music.
Yeah.
I've had like Clint and Michael Sweet from Striper. But so it was cool, you know, having actually played music with these people that I grew up with.
Dude, what did your parents do?
My dad, my mom, you know, she was a teacher and worked at a bank, and then eventually just worked with my dad. My dad started a computer company.
Oh, really?
89 or 90, and he retired maybe 10 years ago, and basically passed the company down to my brother, who runs it. I'm not a computer guy at all, but I work there, and me and my brother runs it, and so I started doing the podcast on the side. Little did I know, by the way, when I started this thing, I'm kind of going back. When I started, I was just thinking, I want to interview musicians. I never thought that after I started doing podcasts, just the people I meet, the networking, the, you know, Rock and Pod Expo that I went to, and traveling different. I mean, I never thought that ever. It just all like, I love that the friends I've made doing this, you know. I'm sure you've made friends too. It's just everybody so far has just been so cool and supportive, you know.
Yeah, dude, it's incredible. It's an incredible thing, and this ties into more of why I want to talk to you as well. But I wanted when you say a computer company, like, is it an actual like making computers, or is it like more of so like not like
I say they because I don't do it.
Yeah.
we make computer chassis that go to like military, hospitals, big rack mount units.
Oh yeah, okay.
The company is called Trenton Systems. You can find them if you Google TrentonSystems.com. I think it's .com.
I've seen them. I work construction.
Oh, really?
I work construction, so we work. I'm a commercial plumber by trade, so I work in hospitals and new construction, and I see that name all the time.
Oh wow, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, well, that's a family business.
That's killer. That's
Thanks.
awesome. So hey, did you had a pretty tight knit family then, like pretty close growing up? Like, that's fantastic.
Yes. How about you? Did you is your family close? Do you guys all live near each other? Or?
We were. I grew up in a Mormon household, so it was interesting because I'm not a religious person, and I realized that very young. But it was always like there was like this. We were close, but not really. Like, it was weird because the close part was kind of a facade. It was more for show. Like, okay, when we pull up here, we're gonna be smiling. You know, like getting to my grandma's house, we could be fighting in the car. And she's like, okay, face is on. Like, boom, you're on camera, right? Like, but from that, like, my brother and I distanced a bit. At 17, I found out I had 3 other half siblings, 2 that were one was dead, the other one was to be murdered later.
Oh gosh,
it's a whole mess. But my dad passed away 2 years ago now, and so it's my mom, my brother, and I still. And my brother and I don't talk much. We don't agree. He's politically. It's just insane. The stuff I mean, it's out there.
Right.
He's collecting guns and knives and stuff like that. And I don't own a gun. I don't own any of that stuff. I don't, you know, he's into that whole thing. And my mom's more on his side too. So my mom and I talk every week, but he and I don't. And my dad's gone. So like, we grew up close, yes, but it was in a weird way that kind of dissolved once we became adults, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's awesome that you guys grew up close, because so often on the show and on yours too, I'm sure you're talking to people who don't have that, you know, didn't have that, that close family or family at all, or an awful, you know, childhood situation, you know. That's one thing I love about your show is like, I watch the show not for who you're talking to, but to watch you do it, right? The same thing I hope people do for mine, because I think that's when you become a success, is when people listen to the show or watch the show because of the host. Like, you had Matt Pinfield on. I had Matt Pinfield on mine too.
Oh, cool.
And he is he is a gem of a human being. He's amazing. And I would watch his shows because he was on it. I don't care if he's talking to the Goo Goo Dolls, but he is. And I watched the whole thing, right? Because it's Matt Pinfield, that's when you become a success, I think. And that's what I like about your show, is because you let people talk, you let them finish what they're saying. You're not interrupting what they're saying. You're not pushing your own agenda, and you're just having a conversation. You have like some talking points, I'm sure. But I like how you just kind of let it go. Like you just kind of let it roll. You interview someone like HR, who I want to get on my show so bad, but
oh yes,
maybe 20 years ago, because now with the medication and his mental state, he talks so quiet. But then like, yes, sir, is like his answer to a lot of questions. He doesn't really go deep. So it was fun watching you navigate that.
I got a funny story, an interesting story about that, by the way. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. This is your deal.
When I had when HR was on the show, I hadn't done that many interviews before him, so I wish I had more experience under my belt. He is just a sweetheart of a person, and on and off camera, it was yes, sir, him and his wife. And so during the interview, it was hard because his answers were short, and I started sweating because I was like, oh, I wish I was more experienced, right? I need some Matt Pinfield under my wing right now. So that interview's, I love Bad Brains, but that interview is hard for me to listen to because I just see like I need to grow more, to get the ball rolling, so to speak. I don't know.
Dude, no, that was perfect. Like it wasn't cringy at all. Like that was what really did it for me. It was what did it, because I saw HR and I was like, what? Like, okay. And I knew how HR is because I've heard other interviews with him lately, and the documentary and just talking about him with other people. It's very short and concise, but he's kind of just reserved, and it's probably the medications that make him that way, because he's such a flamboyant, amazing frontman, like one of the greatest of all time. And to see him in that kind of a reserved state is kind of, it's not worrisome, but it's like someone else almost. But the way you handled that was perfect. Like I listened to it I watched it, and then I listened to it because I wanted to just see how it went. And you're just cool as a cucumber. And that was the best part about it. And that's what I think draws people to watch the show. I mean,
well, it's funny doing these interviews. I guess that is my human nature, is because I love people telling a good story. I love listening to people. And so that's always come so natural, When I first started doing the podcast, I would listen to other styles of interviews and I would think, wow, they're so good. Like I can never do that. But the thing, this is not breaking any ground, but if you just do you, be yourself and get comfortable, then you can actually have a decent interview. So that's the only thing I got now is that I'm being me. Like I like hearing artists talk about their past, and I don't try to interrupt them. That's always been a pet peeve of mine too, is interrupt. Like Howard Stern is one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. Man, when he interrupts like a dozen times, it's just so like, like, what was he saying? Go back to what he was saying,
Yeah.
Anyway.
The art form of that, I think, is letting someone, the guest or someone, think that they're in their world, but they are in your world. Like you're still leading the thing. And that's what you do. Like you're still leading the conversation. You just do it from like a sideline, which makes it super interesting because it's like, what's going to come next, And I love how you have like you put the only other person I've seen with a podcast with as good a production or on par production as you have is my buddy Johnny Christ from Avenged Sevenfold on the Drinks with Johnny podcast that he does. And he's paying a full-on production team that Avenged Sevenfold was doing in the beginning. It was their people, and then he took it on his own. But that's the only other person I've seen put that much work into each episode.
Well, that sounds familiar with what we do, because I use Nathan Mowry from Kind Punk, and he does documentaries and music videos and all that stuff. I just got very lucky when I first started doing the the show, I was using someone else. I was using a guy named Dustin, and that didn't work out. We did about 10 episodes, and I met Nathan Mowry, who did, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with Fozzy, but he did the Judas video, and he's done like the majority of the videos since then. And I keep saying Fozzy, but he's done all kinds of stuff, documentaries, and he's got stuff on Netflix. Anyway, that reminded me what you're saying, because I'm basically using their team in production. So
that's wild.
It's not me doing it.
Like, what was the spark though that made you want to do this? Like for me, I was a touring musician. I stopped touring. I got a real job, started having a family, hadn't gone to shows for years. And then finally I was like, you know, I really want to like keep in touch with people that I knew before, or like touch base and be creative again. And because I wasn't being, I mean, construction isn't creative. I mean, if you're designing it, you are, but if you're building it, it's not. You have all these rules you follow and codes and stuff like that, to where, you know, I wasn't playing music anymore, but I'd been playing music my whole life. So I needed that creative outlet. And I had heard a couple podcasts randomly at work, like put them on like a podcast app. I wonder what that is. And I, you know, just kind of Googled music or whatever, and came up, Mike Carrera from MXPX had one that I listened to with Chris from the Ataris, Christopher Rowe. And then there's one other podcast, but then I was like, I could do that. Like I could call up a buddy and talk, you know? And so I started like figuring out how to do it. But there was that spark where I needed to have something. Like with you, what was it that made you say, hey, I want, because you weren't like you were playing clubs and stuff, but you weren't like a touring, like music for work musician. So for you, what was your spark to say, I want to talk to, you know, so-and-so?
I feel like your story and my story are kind of similar, because working for my brother, I've said, I'm not a, you know, it's kind of his thing. My dad and my brother, they're, you know, they started this company. I work there. I show up on time and do my job.
Yeah.
But creatively, I needed that outlet. So it was driving me nuts, because I wasn't really playing music. I was playing at church. And then I was thinking, you know, I just needed that outlet. And so I became a huge fan of podcasts. I think Eddie Trunk was probably one of the first one I kind of stumbled on. And I love that metal show he's on. Anyway, I was thinking, you know, I could do that. I could talk about music. I love listening, to kind of open my world up with podcasts. So that was kind of the beginning, is that having that creative thing, you know, and I'm just very glad that I kind of, it's weird too. You know, when you start doing a podcast, I don't know about you, but were you nervous to like tell, like who was the first person you told you want to do this? Because me, I was like, I always got nervous. I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm going to interview people. What do you think about that? You know, like, who was the first person you told that you're actually going to do this idea you had?
It was probably my wife, because I was listening to these things at work called podcasts. Like it's not music, it's like interviews, but there's no commercials really. It's just like a radio show. And I was like, I think I could do that. And she's like, you should. And then, so I would start talking about it. Like at work, I'd start talking about my buddy Blad, who I work with, who's now, we were apprentices together, and now we're running work, which is funny to look back at, because when we first were apprentices, I would always talk about stuff like, I want to do this. I got this idea for this. I got this idea for that. I'd never follow through on it. I always get these like grand ideas and never do it. So we were working on this gym at the Nike campus here in Portland. And we were talking about this last night, actually. We were texting about it, because he's like, who do you have coming up? And I was telling him, he's like, dude, you're killing it. And I was like, do you remember like talking about this in the Nike break trailer? Like, I'm going to start a podcast. What's a podcast? Well, it's like, I'll just talk to people and record it. And so I talked to him about it, and my wife, and then I would just kind of like keep talking about it, keep it fresh in my mind. I had no idea how I was going to do it. And then finally I started reaching out to people, and everyone except one said yes. And I was like, shit, now I have to interview all these people. And I have to figure out how to do it. So I'm looking at YouTube videos and like how to do a podcast, how to record. And because music, I was always on the other side of the glass. Like I was never at the board. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I was always playing. Yeah. So audio for me was weird. And then trying to figure that out. And then where am I going to record? We lived in an apartment at the time. And so I was like, well, I'll just record in my car. It's quiet. And I did like 100 and some episodes in my car. And, but yeah, it was my wife probably that I told first that I was going to do it. And when she said, you should do it. And then
it's good to have that support. The first interview I did with my buddy Kurt, which I got to post it now because I always talk about it. But the first episode, we actually took breaks between, which I never do now. Now it's just straightforward. But then it was like, I remember we did like 20 minutes of the interview, then we stopped for some reason. And he's like, "You're doing great. You're doing really good." And I always like, I was like, "No, I'm not." But just him encouraging me, like, man, because if he had told me like, I don't know, man, like you should, maybe this is not for you, but he actually encouraged me. And I think that's huge, having somebody kind of like tell you, you're doing a good thing. Keep going.
Dude. Yeah. It's needed. Like a little bit of validation goes a long way, right? Like, like talking to you now, like I reached out because I wanted to talk to you about your show. Like, I love your show. You and I have never met before. We do the same thing pretty much, like a similar thing. We go about it a similar way. Our stories are kind of similar, but the output is very different. And I love being able to talk to other podcasters on the podcast because, and listeners love it too, because they get to hear like the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff we don't talk about with guests. You know what I mean? So like with you though, you do everything pretty much in person. And so like, are you bringing people, they're coming to your house. Like, do you tell them at your house or do you tell them like a studio? Like, is there like a back door that comes into the man cave or do they actually come in your front door?
That's funny you said that. They all think it's a studio. They're all like, when we come to the studio, I'm like, yeah, we're the basement, studio, whatever. And there is a back door.
Yes.
So I have 2 kids that live upstairs and a wife that live upstairs. I live upstairs, but to keep the traffic down from interviewing these people, from walking by my family eating dinner, I do tell them to walk around the house. Yeah. So it's good that it's good they know I'm legit now, because it's super weird to think like, come to my basement, walk around the house. Yeah. It's really dark. But yeah, I tell them to walk around the house. And to get these people on the show is, the more I do, the easier it gets, I guess. Mm-hmm. Starting out, it was not that way. Eric Rogers, was my second interview, and he was the one that was in Stereo Mud back in the day. A ton of bands, Sound Device. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he has a band called My Therapy, and I reached out to him, and he did the show. And I asked a bunch of people at the time if they wanted to be on the show, and I never got a response. It was just nothing, because I never really had anything to show for it. But once I had him on the show, I remember it kind of snowballed a little bit to where I got more Atlanta musicians. Now you see a lot of these bigger people on the show. It's this is a hobby, so I'm not getting paid for it. Yeah, but I'm paying for like travel and stuff. So I said, really? Look, I'll cover. Yeah, I'll come, because I mean, it's I wish I was that cool where they'd say, hey, no, man, we're happy to see you, man. Yeah. But no, I'll cover the flight and stuff, and that that's basically just cover the flight. Say, man, if you come on and be on the show, we'll have food, we'll take care of you, and you don't have to worry about anything. So that's my big thing. I remember last weekend I had Ming Ching, his brother is and he was telling me, you've done everything. You've covered all the grounds, Mm-hmm. So this is part of the show, is I like to make everybody as comfortable as possible, because I don't know about you, but like, I don't like you're going to someone's house. It's a little awkward anyway. Yeah. And so covering all your grounds, having food, drinks, having, a playlist made of music they'll love. I just try to make everybody feel I'm just kind of rambling here.
No, dude, this is great. This is stuff I've been curious about, because it's something I have no idea. Like, that's what's so intriguing. Like, who is this guy and what is going on here? Like, and that's part of the joy of it, is like, you do cover all the bases. I mean, the show looks great. It sounds great. It's interesting. Like, it's so say someone's going to come on, say Pinfield's coming on the show.
Yeah. He's coming back on the show, by the way.
Awesome. That was a great episode. And so Pinfield's coming back on, right? He lives in LA, like Silver Lake, wherever. What's the process? Matt, hey, do you want to come back on the show? Yeah, we'll come on 2 weeks. Is that cool? And so you'll fly him out. Do you pick him up at the airport? Do you just have a car for him, and then he comes to the house?
That's a great question. So I kind of have it down to a routine now. I have a good friend I met. He's an Uber driver, but we became good friends. He is the guy. So basically, I'll fly him down. My buddy Ryan picks him up from the airport. Sometimes they get a hotel. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they fly out the same day, which is not fun at all. No. I can name a handful of people I've interviewed where it's just Phil Demmel was on the show, and it was just, oh, this is Phil Demmel, but he's like, I gotta go. Let's go. So anyway, so I have a process. So I have them picked up from the airport. They don't. I try and just they don't have to worry about anything. We cover all the grounds, and we do it, and it's a process. It's not overnight. It's like if Matt Pinfield, when he comes back on the show, you know, I'll know probably 2 months in advance before he's even here. So we'll just communicate back and forth about every little detail. Like, you're going to land at this time. So-and-so is going to pick you up. So-and-so's, you know, Ryan is going to take you back. Anyway, that's how it is. I try to, and the best thing is doing all this logistics stuff with the people I interview is that I become friends with them. So usually I have them saved in my phone, and we talk back and forth. And the best thing is when they say, hey, would you like to interview so-and-so? Because when they tell me about their friends, it's gold.
Yes.
It's perfect.
That is how my show has survived the last 2 years. I go through a publicist once or twice in like 6 months, and we're doing an episode every week. So it's like, if I don't already know the person from touring, like that's the one thing that helped in the beginning, was kind of cycling through friends that I made, because I met a lot of heroes touring, but not anywhere near as many as I met through the podcast. That's what's so weird. Like you were saying, like you're like traveling and doing all these cool things. Like I've gone farther and higher with the podcast than I ever did with music.
What music were you in? I
was a guitar player in Portugal the Man.
Oh, okay.
And then I was in a band before that with all those guys called Anatomy of a Ghost. And we were on Fearless Records. So we did a bunch of touring in like the early 2000s. And then like pivoted to Portugal the Man. And then once that was over, I got an offer to join Poison the Well.
Nice. Oh, wow.
I was talking about this with John Beatty, because I took the offer, so it was the night before leaving for Europe with Portugal the Man. I go out at the couch, I tell the guys, hey, I got an offer to join Poison the Well. I think I'm going to do it. Like at the time they were bigger and toured more countries and stuff. And they're like, cool. Like, can you still do the Europe tour? Yes. Do the Europe tour. As I'm in Europe for a month and a half, they got another tour and took a buddy out, and he ended up staying on. So I got back with no job. So that's when I stopped touring. And so making friends through that started out like getting people on the show. But then after that, I started asking, like, who else, if they had a good time, like, who else should I talk to? Like, oh, do you know so-and-so? Like Jenny from Bad Cop, Bad Cop.
Yeah.
We did an episode in my car. It's still like legendary because we literally on a rainy night got in my car. She didn't know me. We're in there for like an hour and a half. The windows are steamed up because it's raining. And
you gotta clarify that it's raining. That's
totally awkward to anyone else but us. And then we became really good friends. And I was just like, hey, who else should I talk to? She's like, man, do you know this guy, Zach Blair, from this little band called, what are they, Rise Against? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she's like, do you want to talk to him? Sure. Call him up. Like, let's do this thing. He's like, I'm on board. And now we've got him starting a podcast. Like and we talk, you know, every month, like about whatever. And kind of like what you're saying, like you established a relationship with these people. You're not a one-stop shop. You're not let's talk about the new album, this song. It's, hey man, I'm Scott Bowling. You're so-and-so. Let's be buddies, you know, like let's chat.
Yeah. I was telling my brother, he's like, oh, that's a great idea. Is what I do is I kind of have a list of the people I've interviewed, and if I have their phone numbers, is when holidays come, when random times come, I'll take time out in the day and just be like, I'm going to, you know, send them out a text. I don't need anything, just saying, hey, you know, hope you had a great Christmas. You know, hope you and the family are doing good. And I love that, because I'll hear back, and it's not me trying to say we be on the show again or whatever. It's just being friends, which is total. Like, I just never thought that would happen. But yeah, I love keeping in touch with people I've had on the show.
I'm glad you do that. I do the same thing. Like it's just maintaining a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want anything from these people. They become friends of yours. So of course you want to know if they had a good Christmas, or, hey, I saw this happened in the, like I sent a couple texts out today when I found out Larry King had passed away, because a few of my friends have been on his show, and I was like, man, it was so awesome. You got to go on that show before he passed. And like it was really great, and there's nothing behind it. Like, yes, it's a form of networking, but friendship is a form of networking. Like you're networking with your friends, even when you're not, like it's like a basic thing, but doing that, sending out a text like that, or just like, hey, just checking in on you, I've had a lot of people on my show that are suffer extremely hard with mental illness. Mm-hmm. So every once in a while, every 2 months or so, I'll just send a text, hey, how you doing today? Like, or what's going on? Like just checking in.
Wow.
And I see you do the same thing. So you understand how to just be a friend to somebody.
Yeah, that's really, that's cool. You do the same thing. That's crazy about Larry King, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Barry Katz, and he manages a lot of like comedians and artists. But anyway, he's got a podcast called Industry Standard. And I was just listening to him. He interviewed him, and it just was on his podcast last week. And it's just crazy that now Larry's gone.
I just saw it this morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because he said something when I was listening. He was being interviewed actually, in the podcast I was listening to, and he said, Barry Katz asked him, said, "Do you ever get nervous interviewing somebody that's famous or whatever?" And he said, he goes, "No, because I'm the interviewer. I'm in control. Mm-hmm. They should be nervous to let me ask them questions." I thought that was cool.
Just flip the switch.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Dude, I've never been nervous for interviews. Really, like I get nervous, but I don't like really get nervous. But I got to travel to Nashville and to go to Corey Taylor's house.
Oh, Slipknot Corey, yeah.
Yeah, Slipknot Corey at his house. I've never been more nervous in my life. I couldn't sleep the night before. I mean, this is not my home studio base. This is me going to someone else's house. Oh man, it was brutal.
That was a great chat, dude.
Oh, thank you.
I noticed it sounded different because he's probably got a giant room you're in with vaulted ceilings or something.
Well, the team was really small too. Yeah. So we and Nathan that films my show. He films all the Cherry Bombs. Alicia Taylor, his wife.
Mm-hmm.
So Nathan films all that. So he was able to kind of network that interview for me.
See, there you go.
Yeah, man.
That's what it's all about.
I never thought starting this podcast or YouTube show, podcast, whatever, that I was going to go traveling. This was just, I thought I would just be talking to people here. And it's a total blessing.
Dude, it's awesome. And that's the success right there. Like you're just connecting dots. Like that's part of the fun, isn't it? Like, so-and-so knows this person. Maybe I could talk to him about this and get this going or this going. Like, you're not using publicists really. Like you're just kind of expanding your web.
I've used publicists before.
But how often though?
Not often, and that's not fun though. I mean, I'm sure
it's not.
Yeah, it's a pain.
And it's not to say anything against publicists. I have a lot of publicist friends that I love dearly, but it's hard to get a publicist to understand what a podcast is, that it's long form. Like I turn down podcasts all the time and they give me 20 minutes, right? Like, you can have 20 minutes with so-and-so. I was like, yeah, no thanks. I'm not going to waste his time. I'm not going to waste your time. I can't get to where I need to get to in 20 minutes. And I won't, because it's just not natural. It doesn't work for what I'm doing. And so I turn them down all the time. And then say, hey, when they're not promoting something and they want to come on, let me know. When I can get an hour, let me know. Like, and they're like, well, thanks, but they don't understand that it's not like, okay, let's talk about the record for 20 minutes and then click, it's over,
Yeah. When you have, when you said you do a podcast once a week.
I release once a week. I have like 10 in the can right now.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, because I was wondering how much pressure that is to keep having them put out every week. But dude, as long as you kind of have more extra.
Yeah. I always have more. I do, sometimes I do 4 or 5 a week. Sometimes I do 2 a week. Sometimes I take a week off, but I always have them in the can in case something happens. And, yeah, I kind of see when you're saying you don't get nervous. Yeah, you get nervous. Are you more nervous because you want it to be successful? Like you want it to work? Like I'm not nervous to talk to somebody, but I'm nervous that I'm going to waste their time, even though the worst that could happen is I don't put it out.
Oh, dude. Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way, but I do. I want to go back for a minute. I do get nervous because it is so much freaking pressure when you have somebody flying in, and you have your crew coming. If anything happens to your crew or if anything happens to the flight, it's just this constant. It becomes nerve wracking. I had DJ Lethal from Limp Bizkit on the show.
Mm-hmm.
A miracle that he made it on the show. He's an amazing guy, by the way. He missed his flight or something. I can't remember. Like he slept in, missed his flight, and basically, I'm about to take a shower. I'm getting ready for this thing, and he sends me, "Oh, I missed the flight, man. I'm not sure this is gonna happen." I'm like, "Wait, what?" And then so I'm thinking it's done. I'm like, "Well, this sucks." And then 10 minutes later, I get another text. Oh, never mind. I caught a flight. It's gonna happen. I'll be there. Don't worry about it. It's like
nice.
Like I don't think I had gray in my hair or my beard, but I think it's slowly coming in, stuff. So I get stressed. Maybe stress is a better word. I get stressed, the day of, just making sure everything happens. So
I love the logistics behind it, like the how much effort you put in. So say someone's coming out, say Pinfield again, coming out.
Yeah.
Like what, is there a dish you like to make for guests or like a food, or do you cook for the guests or do you order it in?
So
or is that all worked out with them? Like, I'm curious, this is awesome. Like, I don't know anyone else who does this. Like, this is rad.
I've learned a lot over the years doing this. So first of all, what I do now is I say, are you vegan or is there any kind of like thing going on? Because I had Elias from Nonpoint and I had all this food. I used to spend more on food. I used to do I had barbecue catered. Now I do Uber Eats. So now I just give them mixture of food, like all unhealthy crap for you to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned over time that some of these people eat healthy and they don't want any of that. And so now I talk to them about that. That's the first thing I say is, do you want to eat like pizza and chicken, or do you want, what do you want? So I kind of get what they like and I just order a bunch of food. I over order. I get way more than they need.
Yeah.
So I can't remember your question, but yeah, I try to.
So I was wondering if you cooked for them, or if there was a dish you like to make when people come over.
That would be awesome. I should do that. That would be showing off a little. That would be cool. Hey guys, I made the steak on the grill.
Dude, two things.
That'll be an episode.
Yes, so you should film like what you cooked for the person, like while you're cooking it, talking about it, like prepping for it. Yeah, and then what you're cooking for them, then they do the thing, and then you can tie it together. But the other thing I was saying, that first episode you were talking about trying to bring it back out. You should have him back on and you should watch it together. And the episode would be you guys commentating on that episode.
That would be great.
That would take the nervousness out of it and the cringe out of it and make it funny if there was cringe, and also get him back on the show.
That is awesome, man. I love that idea.
I think that would be awesome to watch, because then you can kind of make fun of yourself a little if you need to, instead of putting it back. If you do feel that awkward about it, put it out there, man.
Dude, that's a great idea. I have a question for you. When you do these podcasts, how many people do you have after you're done come back to you and say, can you take this part out or what I said right here? Do you have any of that going on?
This is almost, this is getting close to episode 200. And it's happened 4 times, maybe. And twice out of those 4 times, it's been, hey, I thought I sounded a little bit like this. If you think so, will you pull it out? And both times, I was like, I don't think you sound that way at all. Like one of them, I had asked a friend of mine who's gay that was on the show, like, what would you say to someone that's in your situation, like maybe hasn't come out yet and are holding it all inside, that they could hear you tell them that would make them feel better, or make them, give them some comfort in who they are, right? And he when he came out, it was fairly easy for him, So he didn't really struggle with that, like like it being difficult to come out to his family and his friends. So he kind of said it kind of nonchalant, like, man, it's cool. Like there's no problem. Like it was less, he didn't think it sounded sincere enough after the fact. And I was like, no, it was actually exactly what I was looking for, because it was you telling somebody in your own words, in your own experience. And so he's like, oh, cool. Okay. Then we're good. But he had asked, like, if you can listen back to that and let me know how I sound, because I thought I sounded a little bit like just kind of nonchalant. I was like, that's how it was for you. That's you don't need to apologize for that, you know? Yeah, yeah, about four times it's happened. Do you get it a lot?
I've gotten it maybe twice. I've done almost 100 interviews. I've done maybe twice, and it's always what they said about other members of the band, and they try not to make the other person angry, or they're kind of walking on eggshells a little bit around like a topic. And I don't try to get the clickbait kind of stuff. It's just, I know like the gossip kind of blabbermouth stuff that's going on, but I don't try to do that. I just want to have, like, me and you are conversation going, but I've had that a couple of times where we had to take it out, but it doesn't happen often.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about it is there's no like grabbing, there's no like grabbing of anything really. It's just kind of, it is what it is. Like with both our shows, I was talking to John Beatty about this again the other night. Like, I never try to get the headline, and if I do, I almost feel dirty. Like it's not what we're looking for. Yeah. Like when I had Chino from Deftones on, like
so jealous, dude.
6 hours after it came out, and we were talking about this. We had lunch after the episode was done, but before, because he and I had not met yet. He hit me up on Instagram as a fan of the show.
I listened to that.
And then like, so, okay, you heard it. So we recorded the episode. A couple weeks later, we met up for lunch and actually met each other. Wow. And he would not let me pay for lunch. I tried several times. He will not let me pay for lunch. It was hilarious. So surreal. And like for me and him, it's weird because he's a fan of what I do. I'm a fan of what he does. So when we get together and we're trying to have a conversation, we're both just asking each other nerd out questions about what I do, what he does. Super weird. But we met up for lunch, and he was talking about how he'll be like, using the restroom in the morning or something, and like looking at his phone, and something he said the day before is on the PRP or whatever, and where he's just like, or someone will like just rip him apart in a review, and he's like, people don't think we look at that, but we do. We see it, like, and it hurts. And so I'm like, okay, well, the episode's coming out tomorrow. Cool, like everything's good. 6 hours after the episode comes out, the PRP has pretty much transcribed half the interview. Like someone sat there and transcribed paragraph after paragraph of the interview. And I texted him afterwards, like, dude, did you see it? He's like, I already saw it.
Oh, really?
Like it's just, yeah, he said this about this or this about that. And I almost felt dirty. Like I didn't want to put him out there like that. Yeah. I don't want to put anyone out there like that. I don't care if Blabbermouth picks up so-and-so said this. I kind of hate it. Because then it makes you look like a press outlet, and it makes
kind of cheapens the experience a little bit. Like it wasn't
like we put this genuine conversation out to the world for you to listen to if you so choose. We didn't push it on you. We didn't throw it in an ad in your Instagram or whatever. We just put it on our page. Listen to it, enjoy it for what it is. Don't take it and like, oh, twist it around, or so and so said this about this, or
Yeah.
It's weird being in a situation where your conversation's being recorded, if you think about it literally.
So I get a lot of my show's a YouTube show, so I get a lot of feedback on the YouTube comments. Do you get a lot of feedback on Apple review, or like how do you get a lot of, I guess your reviews are different from mine. Mine are all on YouTube. Do you get a lot of reviews for your so you have a lot of people commenting on it? Because what I'm getting at is I have a lot of people that say they have a lot of interesting remarks about different interviews like that. Like, I don't know. But I read them too on YouTube. But do you get a lot of feedback on your episodes?
I do, and I've been really, and I've been really lucky to, podcasting alone is Jay Moore, the comedian who had an awesome podcast. He might still have it. I haven't found it lately, but it was called More Stories. Would say podcasts are appointment listening, that people are listening to it because they want to. Like, oh, so-and-so's talking to Gene Simmons. I want to hear a podcast with Gene Simmons. It's not in 10 minutes, an episode with Gene Simmons starts and I have to watch that before I get to the show I want to watch, right? Like TV, you were choosing to listen to it. So you get far less negative reviews and negative feedback on a podcast because they went to it to listen to it. The only negative feedback is going to be the audio was shitty or which I've gotten those on the early episodes for sure. But my feedback is generally email, and it's usually extremely like well thought out, either constructive criticism or what they really liked or what it helped them with. I've been really lucky with that. The reviews have been good too, but I don't have like a comment section like on YouTube. I'm trying to get the YouTube thing going. I eventually will. I've got a bunch of the video versions of episodes I haven't put out yet. We're just trying to think of the right way to do it because I've not really delved into the YouTube thing. It's something that's fascinating to me because it seems like someone could go get, 30,000 views on YouTube and the podcast episode might get 1,000. It's just a whole nother medium to get it out there, right? Like it's, even that one with Beatty you did got like what, 27,000 views, something like that.
Like, that drives me. That's great. I love John Beatty, by the way. He's awesome to have on the show, and that's funny to me because I'll interview John Beatty, and then the thing blows up. I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome, man. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's like with your comments, I've never actually looked through your comments, which is also funny because then comments are out there for everyone to look at, which is terrible, like. Even if they're good, like it should just come to the host and whatever, but like, do you spend a lot of time like focusing on that? If you get a bad one, do you respond?
I don't get that many bad ones. I did get a bad one time with some question asked Brian Head Welch, but I don't get it that often. And I try to, it's pretty positive, which I don't know, man. I don't know if I want all the comments to be like I kind of like if I get good and bad because it keeps it interesting. I don't want my show to ever be kind of boring, whatever, but I don't get that many comments. That's awesome that you had Chino though, man. I'm pretty jealous on that, dude.
Dude, that's still, I talk about it all the time. He's going to get so annoyed because he listens to all these episodes. So like
I hope he listens to this one because I had Cheese family, his brother on the show just recently. So the Deftones I've been talking about them for the past couple of weeks.
Dude, I'm sure he'll do more podcasts soon too. And that was just the weirdest situation of someone being a fan of since the first record. He's a fan of you. Yeah. I thought I was getting punked. And I told it on the episode, for months, I thought I was getting punked and it was just going to be the most elaborate joke. And it was not.
I can tell our age when we say punked because there's a certain demographic or generation that's like, what?
Dude,
we're always gonna I don't know. I feel like I'm always gonna refer back to that show, Punked. I'd be 80 years old.
You have the perfect chance right now to do something amazing on your show, and it's to when you have people back for a part 2, take them to some decrepit downtown crap hole apartment things that just haven't been going well, but we're still going to do the thing and just see how they react, right? Buzz them into some awful building with a pee outside of it and but just play it cool. There's still some food like McDonald's or something. And we're still going to do it right, and just totally just see if they play it off as being cool. That's the Scott Bowling punked right there.
Dude, man, you have some good ideas.
Or just have your guy drive him around forever and just getting lost and just really stress him out and then bring him into this beautiful man cave with all the food and everything's awesome and see if they even mention that. See if they have enough tact to not mention the experience of getting there.
That's a great idea. That actually reminds me, there's been people on the show actually where I have after the interview, I'll have Ryan take them back if they're staying in a hotel or whatever. That they'll say that Ryan will call me the next day and be like, "Dude, so and so, we did not go back to their hotel. We went to a strip club or so whatever. The night continued."
The night continued.
Really?
Your buddy gets all the fun afterwards.
He does, and that happens. And he's always like, "I'm just doing my job." I'm the driver.
Just a getaway driver.
Twist my arm on that.
So your kids are young, right? Like mine are 9 and 7, and then
that's mine. Mine are 9 and 7 too.
9 and 7, right on. Okay, is your wife into music too, like you are?
She is, not as much though. She's into the more pop music and stuff.
Okay, so when you have somewhat like a platinum selling artist coming in your back door of your man cave, do you introduce them to your family, or does your family ever want to say, "Hey, can I meet this person?" You know, like,
that's a great question. We've had LeJean from Seven Dust. He came over like a week or so right before Christmas, and so he took pictures with the whole family by the Christmas tree.
Nice.
And I'm taking the picture, so it looks like they're a couple. It looks like it's a family. I always laugh at that. My son, he is big into meeting, and my daughter too. So they've met different people I've had on the show and taken pictures with them. They've had my daughter has a picture of her and Sonny outside, of just a picture of them outside by the lake.
POD Sonny?
Yeah, POD Sonny. Yeah. And it's sitting there on her, or it's actually framed on her wall. So she's like, "Oh yeah, that's Sonny from POD." Dude, my son has a picture of Morgan from Seven Dust, and that's hanging on his wall. So yeah, so they meet him. And my wife meets him sometimes, but yeah, it's mostly they mostly it's all about don't be loud, try not to. So they don't meet him all the time. Sometimes.
Yeah. What do they think about what you do?
They think it's cool. My kids think it's cool.
Awesome.
Because I have shirts and Good Company swag. So they. And that's another thing. I don't know. Like I don't really sell it. So every time I interview people, I just give them free stuff. Like here's Good Company shirts. And anybody that reaches out to me that wants, stuff, this is an expensive hobby, man. It's just something I love to do. I'm not looking to get rich. Obviously, it's a money, it's a money hole or money pit or whatever. But yeah.
Well, dude, you're in an awesome position to be able to afford to do what you do now. Like, as much as you do now. I mean, that's an experience, and people are going to tell people about that.
I never thought that starting this thing though. It was just like, when I first started, it was such a small mind frame of I'm just going to talk to somebody and post the audio. To now, it's this whole glorified experience. Like I'm going to have people that are going to meet you at the airport. You're going to have your own menu. You're going to have a playlist. This thing has just grown, man. So I've been blessed. It's 4 years now. So
yeah, me too. That's what's crazy. Oh, really? Like the same amount of time. Like, 4 years last October. So like,
I like how in your podcast too, when you interviewed Head from Corn, you had part 1 and part 2.
We did it twice. We had him on twice.
Oh, you had him on twice. I was seeing those 1 and part 2. Okay, you had him on.
No,
twice.
but for some reason in iTunes, if I put the same, like Brian Head Welch from Corn. 3 years later, for some reason, some people can't find it because it thinks it's the same episode as the last one because the title's the same. So I've had to put part 2. If I have someone back on, I always put part 2, or I'll add the other band they're in to the description, because Yvette Young from Covet's been on 4 times or 3 times, 4 times. I don't remember. 3 times. But when I would put her on without saying part 2 or part 3, someone would click play on it and it would be the episode from 2 years earlier that they'd already heard. Like, it's a weird thing with the iTunes. So I didn't know the right way to do that.
It's funny. Okay, when I first had someone return back on the show, I thought this is going to be a harder interview. But now those are my favorite interviews when I have somebody back on, because there's no stress. It's more just like, okay, let's just have fun now, because we've talked about your entire career. Let's just kind of, and I don't know. I enjoy having people back on it, because there's the stress and pressure feels like it's less.
Dude,
it's just more having a good time.
Exactly. And I've had twice now where I do episodes in advance, and I'm trying to think like, what does my audience want to hear? But also, who do I want to talk to? And when I choose part 2s, like they're my favorite guests. Like I want to have them back for sure. But twice I've had it where I've gotten an email saying, like, one time was, hey, you should do a follow-up with Colin and Anthony from Circa. Like, they were great guests. I had already done that, and they just hadn't come out yet. So I was like, well, let me blow your mind. Don't say anything to anybody. These are the dates when they're coming out. They're already done. I can send you the file early if you want. they're right back like, what? Like, but it makes you feel like you're connected to your audience because they're already asking for things you've done
it's
because
amazing.
You're one step ahead. That probably isn't the case, but it's how it made me feel. I was just like, yes, like I'm tuned in. And
that's great.
But the part twos are the best, man. The part twos are the best because there is no stress. You've already gotten everything out of the way. And who knows how many times you've been texting or talking in between then. It's just a continuation, and people love that.
I love like what you're saying though. I started this for me doing this, but when I have fans, I guess, whatever, people that enjoy good company, when I get that positive feedback, man, I love that. I just love that makes somebody happy, that they're like, oh man, I can't wait to hear this episode. Yeah. And then, but that follows up with, I hope this doesn't suck. Like, don't give your hopes up too high. But yeah, that's the best, man. It's just you're doing something, that we're doing something that brings people joy. I guess people on the way to work or anything is a little escape. They can listen to who you're interviewing, man. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, dude. It's what Pinfield said it, dude. Pinfield said that we are a conduit between the fan and the musician. Like we'll have a conversation with somebody that maybe they couldn't have or would be too nervous to have or not want to have, but still want to sit and listen to it.
Absolutely.
Like it's this connection.
Dude, Matt Pinfield is the most down-to-earth person I've had on the show. And like, he never name drops, by the way, but he'll just be like, we're talking about doing the show. I was like, well, I should have you back, this month. And he'll say, oh, I'm doing this TV show for Showtime, so I definitely won't be able to. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And also, when he came over to the house, we had this whole thing after the interview. I have this like humongous table that's kind of like the Jesus Last Supper table. I mean, it's table. We all were just hanging out, eating or whatever, and we started playing this game of trying to, we all of us, the whole crew, were coming up and like, Matt, who sings this song from this band? Like we're just like trying to, I don't know. And he knows everything about music. Like we were trying to stump him. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I was hitting them up with deep tracks from, 90s and 80s and 70s. And he knows everything, man.
Dude, he does. I said like maybe 3 words for the first half hour of the episode, and I knew I would only have to say 2. I was just like, hey man, how you doing? And he started talking about like going doing stuff with Tool and like all these Tool stories. And then like, I was just loving it. I was just sitting there just kind of like, this is great. Like I'm not going to say anything else. I don't need to. Like he just took it and ran with it, and I loved it. And I was like, dude, we only had an hour because he had somewhere to be. Like he was literally putting his boots on as we were finishing the episode.
Oh, really?
Because his ride was out front. But we'll definitely do it again. But like he just go forever. He should host that game show where you try to guess the song, like Shazam or whatever.
Yes.
He should host that. And also, how hard is it putting together a playlist for Pinfield? Coming over.
Dude, I had
that
a
would have been nuts. I know. How hard was that?
What I did was I get nerdy, right? This is like my passion. So this is I kind of like if they're on social media, I'll kind of stalk their, like if they post a song they like or comment, like, so I would go down, and I knew he is a huge Bowie fan. So I put like Bowie songs on there, and I know he loves the Smithereens. And so I would do different, I basically just kind of, I don't take it lightly. It's a process, but so I play the music in the background while he's here. And when he's here, a lot of people do this. I had Mikey from Highlander, and we were hanging out, and he kept stopping and going, dude, this song, we like the same songs. I'm like, I know what songs you like. So
now come into my dungeon.
Now come into my dungeon. Walk around the house.
You've seen my man cave. Now we're going to go down to the 3rd floor.
I like your idea, though. I need to set up like a trailer and like a part 2 where it's just
and
times aren't going good.
See if, like when you watched Punk'd, it was funny because people would try not to react. They're like, okay, this is weird, but I'm going to play it cool. See how long they play it cool. Have someone else come through, like another family lives there or something. Like you could have so much fun with this. If you put that much work into the logistics, you could mess with some people.
If I put that much, I put so much into the logistics. I need to have like someone real from Punk. I need to have like Dax Shepard like be a part of it or something. I don't know. Have like real people from the show.
Yeah. Dude, you
actors.
could do that. You could do that. Just start pivoting into Hollywood. Like I did Danny Trejo from like the Machete movies, and well, he's been in every movie ever. And then like Napoleon Dynamite came on the show, John Heater.
Wow.
And I just reached out. Like, yeah, well, Danny Trejo, people reached out to me for some reason. I don't know. I don't remember what that was about, but they hit me up and I was like, yes, I absolutely will. What day and time? But John Heater, I just reached out to his people. I was like, hey, see if you'd like this. So like, you know what? We'll send it to him. He's on vacation with his family. We'll see what he says. And he's like, yeah. So we met up at the Marriott here in Portland and had a great time. It was awesome. You just kind of, you can do the same thing you do with music. But, you know, music is your thing. Like, that's your passion.
I've had other people. I've had Chris Farley's brother, Tom Farley, was on the show.
I have not seen that episode yet. I heard you mention it.
He's a cool guy. But yeah, I've had other people. I've had like, we did an episode of food. I had a food competitor, this lady, Molly Schuyler. Amazing, super skinny, but can out eat anybody. And we did a challenge on the show. So she ate 64 Taco Bell soft tacos in 9 minutes, I think. 64 tacos.
Did you compete with her?
No, Nathan did. I had other interviews after her, so I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Nathan basically films my show, but he did, and he's really funny to where he took his shirt off and was laying on the couch by the end of it.
Oh, dude. So you're doing multiple interviews in a day? Like you're since you have the crew and everything, you book a couple?
Yeah, so it's more convenient for everybody. It's cheaper, more convenient if we just so sometimes I've had 4 or 5 in one day.
Dude, that's awesome.
Like I'm mentally like oh man. And I don't know about you, but like when I have interviews like that, it's crazy because I try to keep it low key here. Because it's easy just invite all your friends, but you don't want the experience to be like a meet and greet kind of thing, you know? Where I'm getting at is if I have 3 or 4 interviews, I'll have a couple of friends over here, but it's draining. I'll have, because everybody wants to make small talk. So it's like between interviews, I have like, hey, you should get so-and-so. Hey, you should do this. And I'm like, I got to interview this person in 2 minutes. Like I almost want to like go away. Like I want to go to a different room and just shut the door. Anyway, just randomly thinking about all this stuff.
That's what it's all about, man.
I had somebody last week, right before the interview, they were saying, hey, man, you should get Popeyes instead of KFC. And this was, we're literally starting right now. It's just like, I can't think about that, man.
Yeah. Dude, do you have Church's Chicken over there?
We do. I've never had it though.
Oh, it's so good.
So like there's, I don't think I've ever had it, but there's one here.
Dude, it's so good.
Yeah, Church's, Popeyes, KFC. I don't know. Which one's your favorite? Church's your favorite?
Church's, yeah. Well, I think it's because we didn't have it very often. We only had it on tour. We do Waffle House when it was around. We do Church's Chicken, boiled peanuts. Boiled peanuts. I love boiled peanuts.
Oh my God. I got to tell you this real fast.
Yeah, tell me this.
I have a guy that sells boiled peanuts down the street. It's always some random dude selling it off the side of the road.
Yeah.
Tom Farley came over, and we had boiled peanuts for him. He's never had boiled peanuts, ever. Oh. I don't even think he's ever even heard of them. And so he starts to eat them, and he spits them out immediately. And he says, why are they wet? we laughed about that for days, man. Why are they wet?
Dude, I remember the first time finding those in a gas station on tour, and I was like, boiled peanuts.
They're not the same in a gas station.
Dude. No. Yeah, but that was the first experience. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, yeah. Dude,
being on the road, though, I need to have you on the show sometime. We just talked about you.
Dude.
Being on the road, though, have you ever had In-N-Out Burger? Like, I've always wanted that. I've always heard about it.
Dude, it's my favorite. That's my family gives me so much crap about it because they built one finally up here in Oregon. Down in Kaiser. It's like 45 minutes from here. And there's still, this was years ago, and there's still like an hour and a half wait. And I'm literally like, today I want to make a pilgrimage down to In-N-Out. We would start tours in LA. But so from Portland, it's 15 hours to LA, right? So we'd drive overnight, we'd time it. So we drive overnight, pull into Sunset Boulevard, In-N-Out, parking lot. Like, I don't know, 8 in the morning, sleep for a couple hours. They open at 10:30, walk in, perfectly clean restroom to use, and amazing food every time. And it was a spot to sleep for the rest of the morning. We would do In-N-Out 3 meals a day when we were in Southern California. Yeah, it's incredible.
So we have here we have this place called the Varsity. I don't know if you ever had it, but I
haven't.
Okay, so it's amazing, and I'm just trying to think like what In-N-Out, what you can compare it to, because I'm thinking like we have this great place called the Varsity in Atlanta that it's just everybody goes there before any kind of sport events or concerts. Anyway, In-N-Out Burger, is there a way, like, what does it taste like? What makes it great?
Okay, so In-N-Out Burger, the fries alone are terrible. I'll say this now: the fries alone are terrible. If you get them animal style, they have the dressing on them, the grilled onions, and the cheese, and they're fantastic. They are meant to be eaten that way, I think. And so there's like a whole secret menu. So like I don't do the burger, like I do a double animal style. And that is a double burger, double cheese, and then you get the grilled onions and the sauce, like the secret sauce. So it's basically like, so when I was a kid, I would make hamburgers, like when we barbecue, I'd put Thousand Island dressing on my hamburgers before I'd ever had McDonald's. Where the secret sauce is kind of Thousand Island dressing.
Yes.
And In-N-Out, it's a lot better. But really? In-N-Out, they toast the buns just right. Like the ratio of everything's just right. Like everything is just really good. Do you have, so Carl's Jr. is Hardee's where you're at, right?
Yeah, we have Hardee's. Yeah.
Hardee's. Okay. Do they have the California Classic?
I don't know, man.
Because that is like them trying to rip off In-N-Out. So that kind of tastes like In-N-Out.
Okay, what's it called again?
It's called the California Classic.
All right, well, I'm going to check that out then.
Okay. It's similar to In-N-Out. It's not the same, but it's the closest I've found to what an In-N-Out burger is. And so, and you know, In-N-Out, they're genius with their marketing. Like they don't freeze the meat. Like it's a good play. I mean, the food's good. It's fast food, but it's done really well. And they're fast and they're clean. It's just like it's an institution, man. And
I gotta check it out.
It's incredible. But yeah, if you come out this way, like to the West Coast, like In-N-Out Burger all the way. That's my favorite.
We're actually, once we get a vaccine, I don't know, we're actually wanting to go out to the West and start traveling more. Because there's a lot of bands in LA and around that area that I've reached out to that want to be on the show. So I figured I'd just go out there and just do a bunch of them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fly out. Dude. Yeah, but I want to travel more. I think that's cool. Me and Nathan were talking about that. We went to Nashville and it worked out pretty good. So maybe, I don't know.
Dude, it's awesome over here. And I love your area too, man. I always love touring in the South and just the hospitality and the food was great. And it's just, everything moves a little slower, which was nice. Not necessarily Atlanta. Like we played the Cotton Club in Atlanta. When that was still around.
Yeah, grew up going there, man.
Right next to CNN or whatever, across the street. And it was Huey Lewis and the News was the day after us, and Guar was the day before us. And we're just like, what? Yeah. Guar and Huey Lewis and the News. And we were in between, and it's just this awesome, like
so Guar wasn't opening up for Huey?
No,
I'm just kidding.
But we always knew what the dressing room was going to look like if Guar was before us. And then funny story, Zach from Rise Against was in Guar, so we talked about that too. Because I was like, dude, we were chasing you guys around for a while there. Like the dressing rooms were destroyed, the showers and whatever, with makeup everywhere and blood, and like, oh my god, it was awesome. But
yeah, dude, I love the Cotton Club, man. That's awesome.
Dude, yeah, I remember it very, very well because it was one of the first times we played in Atlanta, and it was like, holy, that's where CNN is. Like we were. Did
you guys play the Masquerade as well in Tabernacle? Yeah, all those places.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, CNN is humongous, man. It's I don't know what CNN's doing right now with 2020 and 2021 or whatever, but the place is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. But Dude, to tie it together to computers though, with what you're doing, do you know much about Bill Gates?
Yeah, a little. Yeah, my dad. It's funny when Bill Gates started out. My dad's old, so he's like, oh, we knew about Bill Gates from day one. Like he was like I feel like my dad knows Bill Gates. Like he talks about him a lot. But yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't really know that much about him. I know he's trying to do vaccines now.
So. Yes, but just this is way more trivial. This is what I'm getting at here is what you're doing with what you get the playlist going and stuff like that. My cousin had a chance to go to his house for a dinner for something, and you actually fill out like a questionnaire, what music you like, what art you like, and the pictures on the wall change to the artists you like and the music you like. Like it's an experience, kind of like what you're doing there.
Level,
it is next level because he's got a few dollars, but
just a few.
But it's the same thing. He wants you to have an experience when you visit his home.
All my platinum albums, like they would change to what you would like.
Yes, exactly. You have platinum albums on your wall back there?
Covered in platinum albums. Yeah.
How do you get that?
Dude, I have to send you my episode. I did a whole episode because starting off the show, I used to give a lot of artists platinum. I had custom made platinum records.
Holy shit.
I only did that for a few artists, bigger artists, you know. Like when I interviewed Corey Taylor, I'm like, this is your new solo album. Boom, right here. There you go. But anyway, that's something else. But yeah, I've been collecting. I buy them at auctions and eBay and all kinds of stuff. It hasn't been overnight. So I've been collecting that stuff, you know, for 10, 15 years.
Wow. So this is like from, because I know when the record goes platinum, like if you're on the record, if you know, like some like obscure people that may not want it or keep it because they didn't write the record, you know, would sell it, right? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. So I've had, it's funny you said that. Seven Dust had Animosity. I think it was gold. So hard to find because nobody wants to sell Animosity, the album, and I have it. So when Morgan came over, he looked at it and he looked at Presented 2, and it was their manager at the time, and he's like, "Oh my God, the manager did this for real?" And he took a picture of it, and then I posted it because it was the anniversary for Animosity, and John, the other guitar player, he's like, "Oh my God, our manager's selling, or whoever's selling this. I'm gonna hit him up now." So, yeah,
that's excellent, funny. Dude. Do you remember the first one you got?
No, I don't remember the first one I got, but I remember the first thing I had framed was I had a Deftones. Stephen Carpenter had his own. I got one of his guitars. And me and my buddy Carl, we went to Atlanta and South Carolina, North Carolina, and basically followed him on the road for one summer. And and basically I got the whole band to sign it. And then I had that framed.
Dude.
That was my first frame. And framing a guitar was not cheap.
Yeah.
I never framed a guitar after that. I was like, screw that.
Dude.
But yeah, that was my first one.
Well, dude, and so it's like skateboards too. You got skate decks all over. Were you a skateboarder?
I did, but I was terrible at it. Skateboards for me, skate decks for me, for two reasons, is that they're hard to find with bands and stuff on them. They're some of them are hard to find. And another thing is they fit perfectly over doors. So my whole basement's covered in stuff, except that small little space that, you know, frames won't fit, a skate deck will. So basically I just get them just to fill the space.
Have you had your own skate deck built yet or made yet for a good company?
That's funny you've asked that. Yeah.
Dude, I saw the List of Bad Brains one.
Yeah. It's funny though, because that was a late night purchase. I had my own custom made, and then I felt like, oh man, I don't want to like show this my face on what. So it is on my wall, but it's like kind of on the bottom, kind of hidden, because I didn't want to be I don't want that to be front and center. Look at me,
dude. It should be. That's awesome. You put your face on it?
Yeah, it's my face with the logo.
Oh yes.
Yeah, man. I'll send you a picture of it.
Dude, that's awesome.
That
is so badass. You could put that over the back door for when they walk in.
Yeah, man.
That's the first thing they see. Like it's a totally normal house and they walk in and it's just, man, it looks like just an awesome bar. Like it just looks like an awesome like speakeasy bar down there.
Yeah, it basically is. And the bar was funny because when we had, the basement was unfinished when we moved here, and the bar, we weren't even gonna have a bar. They finished, and there was like this little spot and the contractor guy said, "Hey, you should do a bar right there. That would be a perfect little spot for it." And it was kind of last minute. We're like, okay, let's do that. Who knew that the freaking bar would be where, going on 4 years where I'd be filming a show.
Yeah.
Around the bar.
Dude, it looks so good. It's done so well. And I'm stoked to get to do this with you, man, because these are things I love about this. Like just discovering things that aren't some massive musician's venture, right?
Right.
Just a dude. Like I'm just a dude doing a podcast. You're just a dude doing a YouTube channel. Like you work for your family's computer company. I put pipes in hospitals. But then guys are like, who are you talking to this week? And I'll tell them like, are you kidding me?
Yes.
Like, I can dip my toe in that life if I want, but I don't have to live there.
Man, you're very similar, man.
Yeah, I think that's what I get from this. Like,
yeah, it's the same thing. Like, I'll be at work and I'll be like, "Yeah, man, Matt Pinfield's coming over this week," and I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, are you serious?
Are you lying? Like, oh, that's cool, man. And I really appreciate having me do this podcast. I get more nervous being on a podcast, and it's funny. A lot of people, I've talked to a lot of podcasters that maybe like John and my mind's going blank, but a few people I've talked to that do podcasts say they get super nervous being on camera or anything. So they love doing the audio, but it's like,
oh man,
Daniel Terry told me from Discography Discussion, and he also does really speaking. I think maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I think they do it together.
Yeah, mm-hmm. He told me that I'm trying to remember what he said exactly. They were interviewing somebody, and the guy said, "Well, I'm down the street. You want me to just come over and we'll do it in person?" And he was like, yeah, man. Like I get more nervous in person. Where I'm getting at is I'm opposite. Like the audio thing makes me more nervous. Like the cameras don't bother me as much. It's weird. I don't know. Dude, that's where I started.
Yeah, and having to know which camera to look at and where you're sitting. Like sometimes the guest will like fold in right into your face to face, and then sometimes they'll sit outward. Like, yeah, I love it, dude, and I love what you're doing, and I mean, that's why I reached out. So like, dude, this is all I gotta figure out who this guy is. Like, this is cool.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for coming on, dude. This has been a blast. And
dude, you have huge people on your show, so I hope that people don't find me boring, man. But it's a blessing.
Not at all.
Being on your show, man.
This is really cool. Like, this is people listen to this show because they want to hear the conversation. That's the feedback. Is half the time I don't even know who you're talking to, but I don't care. Like I want to listen to the conversation, and that's the best feedback and compliment ever is, okay, you trust me to bring you something good, and I'm going to do it, and that's Chino says the same thing. He's like, I don't know half the people you have on your show, but I listen because it's the show. Like that's
a huge compliment, man.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But you're doing the same thing. Like where it's like with me, especially like I watch your show and listen to your show because you do it.
Thank you.
I don't even necessarily need to care who the guest is. I want to hear how you handle it.
Wow, man,
I like that because you like stuff that's from a whole other area than my wheelhouse. So I'll listen to stuff like people I've never heard before that are probably in huge bands, but bands I never listened to. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to hear them on your show, right? Like that's the plus, man.
That's a huge compliment, man. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, you deserve it all, my friend. You deserve above and beyond, and I think people will also enjoy the behind the scenes look to it, like how you do your show. And then when they watch it on YouTube, they're going to be like, man, so much went into that.
Dude, we're actually talking about doing that as we're talking about having a separate camera that just follows before we start because so much goes on before.
Yeah.
We set up for 2 hours before I even interview. It's a whole.
Dude, have a camera with your Uber buddy at the airport and have them film them on the way there. And then film the setup and blend it out all together.
And have them walk around the house with the camera?
Yeah. Hey, man, like they're going to get like punched in the face when they come to the door or something like, oh, here he comes. Like just mess with them.
Right when they get off the air, like right when they fly in and they're in baggage claim, there's already a camera.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a
camera
show.
With their name on the bottom of it on a piece of paper, like the limo driver would have.
That's a great idea. Dude. Hey, if you're ever on the show, I'm going to do that, man. Like,
I look forward to whatever you plan on doing.
And if you're ever on my show, which you're always invited, you have to bring like In-N-Out burger. Like, just have I know it'll be cold and everything, but
dude,
show up with 2 big bags of In-N-Out burger.
Dude,
we can eat it during the interview.
Yes, I will absolutely do that. My dad did that once. We lived in a little island in Petersburg, Alaska. No McDonald's my whole childhood for that. We had to do it on vacation in Seattle. So when he flew home from a business trip in Juneau, they had a McDonald's. He had a layover. He went and bought like 15 or 20 cheeseburgers and fries, put them in a bag, put them in a suitcase, got back on the plane. People are on the plane like, man, something smells good in here. He got home and he dumps them out on the table like gold. Like, just like, what is this? And they're cold and stuck together like a cold grilled cheese sandwich. And we devoured them. We called the neighbor kids over and we had a feast of McDonald's, cold garbage McDonald's, because we just didn't have it there.
Dude, that's
you may awesome. Like the same thing. I'll bring you some cold In-N-Out burger.
Oh, let's do it, man.
Or I'll get a Yeti cooler and keep it warm or whatever.
Yeti, yeah. Yeti will do it.
Yeah, we'll test them out. All right, buddy. Well, dude, thank you so much for doing this, and keep doing your show. And I look forward to someday experiencing what you do, because I'm enjoying watching it. So,
dude, thank you so much for having me. This is I was really glad when you asked me to do this, man. This is awesome.
And I'm glad I got into the studio, because that would have really sucked to have to cancel it because I couldn't get back inside.
Hey, at least you had your phone. That's the only thing you had on you.
I almost didn't bring it.
Really?
It. So I'm just going to pee real quick. Like, it's sitting right here. Like, I don't need it. Oh, I would have had to walk home from here. It would have sucked. But anyway, dude, I'll let you get back to your family and enjoy your evening. And yeah, hit me up whenever, man. I'll let you know when this is coming out, and we'll work it all out.
Sounds good, man. Let's keep in touch.
Awesome. Right on, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Dude. Appreciate it, brother.
See you, buddy.
All right. See you, man.
Bye.